Chulin, page 72. We will start 71b, 9 lines from the bottom of the page. In Talmudic times, it's important to know the names and the meaning of the names. We discussed many times the spelling of one letter, one word. Here is just another example. We have in the Tractate Brachot a story of a great teacher by the name of Rabbi with Hey, or in English AH, and his young disciples, young students, Abaye and Rava with Aleph. Now, it means that Rava and Abaye were the students of Rabbah, their teachers. One of the beautiful, fine examples of the talented young students is the story of Rabbah, their teacher, Brachot, page 48. He was kind of asking if he can count those little children for zimun. As you know, before making grace after meal, we have the zimun, the potential of having 3 people. The question is, if you count them prior to their bar mitzvah, but they are very educated as part of the zimun in those days, it was a potential to do that. So Rabbah entered to the Beit HaMidrash, the place that these young students reside, and asked them a question. Tell me, young children, where is God? So the story goes that Rava, the young boy, pointed to the ceiling. Abaye took him outside of the room and showed him the sky, the heaven. And Rabbah was so impressed, he said, Butzin, Butzin mekatfe yadia. Rashi there said, Klomar, meaning it's not the dlat, is not the crowd, but the allegory is you already foresee in a very young age your potential to be the leaders. So here, now mature adult student, Rava, Amar Rava. So since his teacher, Rabbah, tells us, that's what we learned yesterday, that an encapsulated impure item cannot impart impurity, and that an item that is ritually pure, that is encapsulated within another body, cannot be rendered impure. So here the students, Rava said, just for those who speak Hebrew, so they said, Kishem shetum'a blu'a lo metam'a. If someone achal b'sar nevela, if someone ate the carcass, the meat, b'me'av lo metam'a, kach tahara blu'a, balat, tabat, soon you see those rings, nichnas the oil tumat met, lo nitmet, it's not encapsulated. So anyway, Rava said, travayu tenanhi tum'a vlu'a. He says, why you have this teacher Rabbah statements, why it's necessary? We learn both halachot in the Mishnah, which is Tanina, that's the Mishnah, tahara vlu'a, if you have an encapsulated impure item, so it's not susceptible of the ritual impurity, ina mekabelet tum'ah. Tanina, that's what we learn about an encapsulated pure item. Now we expand on that. And he said, Tum'a vlu'a ditnan. When it's come to an encapsulated impure item, the halacha we derive from the Mishnah in Tractate Mikveot, chapter 10, Mishnah 8. Here is a fellow Kohen, a priest, balat tabat me'ah. Obviously, it's hypothetical scenario, but we can have a lot of halachic derivative. So we talk about a Kohen that swallowed a ring that was impure due to having been in contact with a corpse. Balat tabat me'ah tum'at met. Carry a corpse ritual impurity and thereby rendered impure. To render himself pure, tovel, he immerse himself at the seventh day, that's the din taharat met, tmemet, vehochel bitumato. So after he immerse himself for the seventh day, and then he may partake of his special rite of eating those consecrated item, ritual item that's specific for the Kohanim, for the priest. He can do that by the completion of the seventh day. There is a Rabbi Akiva Iger here, but let's just continue first. So we said the Chidush here, that's you see the Rashba and other Mefarshim, they said that despite the fact that the impure ring is still inside him, and again remember that just is a hypothetical point, but it's important to understand the concept. The reason this is permitted is that since the ring is encapsulated inside the person's body, it cannot impart impurity. Now, hekia, if he vomited out, so this ring remains tme'ah, remains impure, because by tvila, by the ducking in the mikveh, that's not purified the ring, vetim ato. So it's not purified by his immersion, and therefore it renders him impure upon exit from his body. Now the second din, likewise, tahara vlu'ah. We learned halacha that an encapsulated pure item cannot render impure. This we learned the Mishnah in same place, Mikveot, chapter 10, Mishnah 8. Tanina, ditnan, bala taba torah v'nichnas לאוהל המת והיזה. If one swallow a ritual pure ring and then entered a tent containing corpse, thereby contracting impurity, and then in order to render him pure, someone hiza sprinkle upon him the water that is mixed with the ashes and the red heifer, and that's the seventh day. And then, meaning once on the third day and again on the seventh day, as the Torah required, and then vetaval, he then immersed in a mikveh. So that's the completion of the tahara, pure process. Veheki'ah, so completing the purification process, and he then vomited out the ring. So the ring, me'olam lo kiblat tum'ah, the ring is pure because it was always is. As Rashi explained to us, it was not rendered impure from the corpse. So you see here lucidly, clearly, that as long as the ring is blu'a b'me'eh adam, is inside the person's body, it's not susceptible to ritual impurity. So since we learn a Mishnah that something, davar balua, something that is swallowed, eino metameh ve'eino mekabel tuma, is neither carry ritual impurity or not susceptible to ritual impurity, why Rabbah need to teach us that? So the Gemara explained and answered, Ki ka'amar Rabbah. When we talk in the Mishnah, the case that it's concerned the possibility of imparting impurity from the ring to the body within which is contained, and vice versa. Kegon shebalash shtei tabaot. Or Rabbah speaking is referring to imparting impurity from one item to another where both are contained together inside the body, such as a situation where a person swallowed two rings, achat me'ah v'achat torah, one pure, one impure, and they came in direct contact with one another. So here Rabbah taught that even in this case, the lo metamyala tme'ah li Torah, the impure ring does not render the pure ring impure. Now you should know that we go by Rashi, Ramban explaining the Rashi. Tosfot challenge this Rashi a lot. I just want to comment for a second there. Rabbi Akiva Iger in Gilion HaShas and Mishnah, Perek Chet Kelim, Mishnah Hey. So Rabbi Akiva Iger, based on this halachot, Rabbi Akiva Iger said that Tarnegolet, if you have a chicken, Shebala et Asheretz, that hypothetical scenario, you have a chicken, pure, he swallow a creeping sheretz, creeping animal, ונפל לאוויר התנור, and it's come out to the airspace of the oven, so he said tahor. So he said tarnegol chai is living chicken. Why? Tum'a blu'a lo metamya. Right, that's what we said. So if you juxtapose to our sugya, so you see that tum'a blu'a ena metama, that swallowed ritual impurity, not carried. But anyway, there is the same we see in Magen Avraham in Shin Mem Gimel. He brings the rokeach. אשת כהן מעוברת מותרת להיכנס לבו אל המת, ספק ספיקה, שם הזכר או נקבה ושם הנפל הוא. So he brings to that, he asks the same thing in Tum'a Blu'a Tanya. But anyway, it's a, we don't have time, but in the Kavod Kushiyata, the Shechitat Yoav, my brother-in-law who published the Shechitat Yoav of Mandelbaum, he expand on like 7 avenues to understand this sugya. Obviously, it's not in our time frame. Anyway, again, top of the page 72. Veha ubar vechaya, the Gemara objects and said that when the Mishnah case of a dead fetus in its mother's womb, which we discussed at length yesterday in our Mishnah, dechishtei tabaot damu. So you have a case of dead fetus in its mother womb and a midwife who touches there, which is in a way it's similar to the 2 swallows rings, because here too the miyaledet, the midwife, put her hand and touch the dead fetus inside the rechem, inside the womb, וקם מטמא ubar lechaya. And yet the Mishnah rules that the fetus renders the midwife impure. Tosfot challenge that. The difference in the definition between Maga and Masa, you see also Levarier on that. But anyway, Amar Rabbah shane ubar ho'il vesofo latzet. Rabbah said, a fetus, you treat it in a total different way. It's different from a ring because it will ultimately leave the womb. So Rava, that was Rabbah, okay? Rava rejected that and said, Amar Rava ubar sofo latzet, tabat en sofa latzet. In a way, he was puzzled, Rava, the students, and he said, is that to say that the fetus will ultimately leave the womb, but a ring that someone swallows will not ultimately leave the body? A ring will certainly be expelled eventually as well. Ela Amar Rava, rather, Rava said, Pumpeditai yad'ei ta'ama de hamilta. The erudite scholars of the city of Pumpedita know the reason for this. Umanu, and who is the sage referred as the scholar of the Pumpedita? The great Rav Yosef. The Amar Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Tum'ah zo, he said that this impurity of meyaledet, of midwife, In the Mishnah case, אינה מדברי תורה, אלא מדברי סופרים. It's not effect by Torah law, rather it was decreed by rabbinic law. That's the Rabbanan. More in Kiddushin, page 30, said that Chachmei Adorot is called Sofrim. Anyway, my אינה מדברי תורה אלא מדברי סופרים. What was Shmuel's intention in emphasizing, saying that it is not effect by Torah law, rather it was decreed by rabbinic law? It should have sufficed for him to say simply that the impurity is decreed by rabbinic law. דלא תימא אליבא דרבי עקיבא דאמר עובר במעי אישה טמא. That you should not say that the ruling of the Mishnah is only follow the view of Rabbi Akiva, who says that one who touches a dead fetus in a woman's womb is impure by Torah law, and that is why the midwives was rendered impure. Rather, אלא אפילו לרבי ישמעאל דאמר עובר במעי אישה tahor, even according to the opinion of Rabbi Ishmael, who says that one who touches a dead fetus in a woman's womb is pure by Torah law. Nevertheless, the sages gazru ba tum'a miderabanan. Our rabbis decree, enacted, that midwives who touches it is impure by rabbinic law. What's the reason? Now the Gemara expand on the reason. Mai ta'ama. The Gemara asks, what is the reason for this decree? Amar Rav Hoshaya, gzeira shema yotzi valad rosho chutz leprosdo. Rav Hoshaya said it is a rabbinic decree, lest the fetus extend his head out of the concealed opening of its mother's womb. If he did, it will be regarded as having been born, and it will be ritually impure by Torah law. So here our rabbis were concerned that the fetus extended his head and then the head returned inside, yet the midwife did not notice. So consequently, when she touches the fetus, she mistakenly assumes she remained ritually pure. So to safeguard against this, the sages decree that in any case where she touches the dead fetus, she is ritually impure. So the Gemara objects and said, Ihache. If so, the sages should also decree Isha Nami, that the woman herself, who is carrying the fetus, is impure. Why? Because she also might not notice that the fetus had emerged. So the Gemara explained and said, Isha margeshet be'atzma. A woman accurately senses with regard to her own body whether the head of the fetus had emerged. So the Gemara challenged v'teima la lechaya. Yet then she would have said this to the midwife. So why is there a need for a decree? So the Gemara said, treida, that practically since the mother is distracted by the excruciating pain of childbirth, she does not have the presence of mind to warn the midwife. The truth is, in Yoreh De'ah, the Shach, in Yoreh De'ah, Siman Shin Ayin Aleph, 371, you see it also in Magen Avraham in Shin Mem Gimel, and in Minchat Chinuch, and Chtam Sofer in Shin Mem Dalet. There is a lot, Achiezer, it's a lot of expansion of that. But here the Gemara expand on this disputation between the Tanaim, and the Gemara cite a dispute that as to whether one who touches a dead fetus in a woman's womb is ritually impure. So, my Rabbi Ishmael, my Rabbi Akiva. What is the view of Rabbi Ishmael and what is the opinion of Rabbi Akiva in this machloket? The Tanya. The Torah said in Bamidbar, in the book of Numbers, chapter 19, verse 16, וכל אשר יגע על פני השדה, בחלל קבר או במת, או בעצם אדם, בחלל, או בעצם אדם או במת, יטמע 7 ימים. So the Pasuk said, and whatever in the open field touches one who is slain by the sword, or one who dies on his own, or a bone on a man, or a grave, shall be impure 7 days. So because you use the phrase in the open field, you have here indication that one is rendered impure only in a case where he touches an exposed corpse. So this serves lehotzi, to exclude lehotzi ubar bim'ei isha divrei Rabbi Ishmael. This serves to exclude one who touches a dead fetus in woman's womb from being rendered impure. That's basically the statement of Rabbi Ishmael. Rabbi Akiva omer lerabot golel vedofek. According to the great Rabbi Akiva, he says that this phrase serves to include the grave cover and the grave walls upon which the cover rests as a sources of impurity that render impure anyone who touches them. So why each of them, Rabbi Ishmael, Rabbi Akiva, did not take the drasha of the other? Rabbi Ishmael, why Rabbi Ishmael did not take what Rabbi Akiva said? Because according to his view, golel bedofek hilcheta gmirela. So he derived that the grave cover and the grave wall, he learned this halakha through tradition, not from the pasuk, not from the verse. Rabbi Akiva ubar b'mei isha tameh. According to Rabbi Akiva, so he derived that a dead fetus in a woman's womb is impure by Torah law. So basically it's not halakha leMoshe Sinai. And again, we go by Rashi. You should know that it's a Rashba and Ramban that a little different. But anyway, Mideoraita Menale, from where we derive it that it's impure by Torah law. Amar Rabbi Yoshaya Amar ka hanogea bemet benefesh Adam etzel בה טמא יהיה. The pasuk said in the book of Numbers, chapter 19, verse 13, whoever touches a corpse of the life of a person that died, he will be impure. So the term of the life can also be interpreted as inside the life. Eizeu met shebenefesh shel Adam. What is the case of a corpse that is inside the life of a person? Heveomer ze ubar shibim'ei isha. You must say that this is a dead fetus inside a woman's womb. Rabbi Ishmael. So the Gemara comments according to Rabbi Ishmael. Hai mi ba'alei lirvi'it dam haba min hamet shemetam'a. So he talked about a quarter log of blood that comes from a corpse, meaning that even it imparts impurity like a corpse. Because the pasuk said, דם הבאה מן המת שמטמא, שנאמר הנוגע באמת בנפש האדם, זהו נפש של אדם שמטמא, ואומר זה רביעית דם. So because the pasuk said the one who touched for the blood of the life, so we derive from that applied to a quarter log of blood. So that's the minimum for a person to survive. Rabbi Akiva letamei, and Rabbi Akiva does not accept this derivation. So he conforms to his line of reasoning, as he says that even a quarter log of blood that comes from two corpses imparts ritual impurity in a tent to people and other items that are under the same roof. דם הבא משני מתים מטמא באוהל דתניא. רבי עקיבא אומר מניין לרבית דם הבא משני מתים שמטמאה באוהל, שנאמר ועל כל נפשות מת לא יבוא. That was said in Leviticus chapter 21 verse 11. He shall not come upon any people that are a corpse. So the use of the plural form people, nafshot, indicates that the blood imparts impurity even if it comes from two people, as blood referred to as nefesh. Shtei nefashot v'shi'ur echad. And the use of a singular form, corpse, indicates that this blood combines to complete two measure, which is the minimum amount of quarter log required to impart impurity. Now the Mishnah goes back to the situation of a fetus animal, that part, like the foreleg, or other part left. Bema ham kasha leiled. Animal that was encountering hardship, difficulty giving birth. Ve'otzi ubar et yado. So, as a result, the fetus extend its foreleg outside the mother's womb. V'chatacha ve'achar kach shachat et imo. And someone severed it, the foreleg, and afterwards slaughtered the mother's animal. Habasar tahor. The flesh of the fetus, as far as the ritual, it's ritually pure. However, shachat et imo v'achar kach hatacha. If one first slaughtered the mother animal and afterwards severed the foreleg, habasar maga nevela divrei Rabbi Meir. The flesh of both the mother animal and the fetus are ritually impure due to have been in contact with a nevela, with a carcass. Since the foreleg was not permitted to be consumed through the act of slaughtering, it is regarded as a carcass with the associated ritual impurity. The rest of the flesh, which was permitted to be consumed by the slaughter, was in contact with it and so was rendered ritually impure from it. That's the statement of Rabbi Meir. V'chachamim omrim, and the sages say, the flesh has ritual impurity of having been in contact, magat treifa shchuta, in contact with a treifa that was slaughtered, as the limb is regarded as a treifa that was slaughtered. So by Torah law, although it is prohibited to consume it, it does not impart ritual impurity. Just go by Rashi, there's Tiferet Yaakov here and different Pirush. But anyway, nevertheless, the sages decreed that a treifa that was slaughtered, as well as anything that come in contact with it, is regarded as ritually impure to the extent that it disqualified offering foods that come in contact with it. 72b. Chachamim, the sages, explain their view. Ma matzinu bitreifa. What we found in the case of a treifa, shechitata metaharta, that in order to be free from tum'at nevela, from the ritual impurity of the carcass, the slaughter renders it ritually pure. That's basically follow the Torah law, which is ritual slaughter prevents it from having the ritual impurity of nevela, of a carcass, despite not rendering the animal permitted for consumption. So the same way, af shechitat behema tetaher et ha'ever. So the same way, the slaughter of the mother animal should render the limb of its fetus that left the womb ritually pure, despite the fact that its consumption is prohibited. Rabbi Meir respond to the sages. Amar lahem Rabbi Meir, lo. Meir said to them, no. Im tihara shechitat treifa ota, דבר שגופה תטהר את העבר, דבר שאינו גופה. If the slaughter of a treifa renders the body of the animal ritually pure, it's because the slaughter is performed on something that is part of its body, which is the throat. So does it necessarily follow that you should also render the limbs that left the womb pure, giving that it is something that it's not part of the mother's body? Certainly not. Later the Gemara expand on that. We just go by Rashi. So now the Mishnah goes to the source, Mekor Hadin, the source of that Shechitat Treifa, that slaughtering of Treifa, purified it from the status of Nevela, of carcass. Minayin li Treifa sheshchitata metaharta. From where is it derived with regard to a Treifa that its slaughter renders is pure, which is prevents it from having the ritual impurity of a carcass? So the Mishnah notes that there is a reason to say that the slaughter should not render it pure, as one can compare a treifa with a non-kosher animal. How? בהמת מאה אסורה באכילה וטריפה אסורה באכילה. So a non-kosher animal is prohibited for consumption, the same way as a treifa is prohibited for consumption. So therefore, conclude how? מה בהמה אין שחיטתה מטהרתה? אף טריפה לא תטהרנה שחיטה. So the same way a treifa is prohibited for consumption, so you see here that just with regard to a non-kosher animal, its slaughter does not render it ritually pure. The same way when it's come to treifa, its slaughter should not render it ritually pure. Now the Mishnah challenged that comparison. The Mishnah said, "Lo, it's incorrect to say it. אם אמרת בבהמת מאה שלא הייתה לה שעת הכושר, תאמר בטריפה שהייתה לה שעת הכושר?" If you said that slaughtering cannot prevent an animal from having the ritual impurity of a carcass in a case of a non-kosher animal, which is distinct in that it did not have a period of potential fitness when slaughtering it could have rendered it consumption permitted, that is necessarily follow that you should also say this in a case of a treifa which did have a period of potential fitness, שהייתה לה שעת הכושר. So since the animal had a period of potential שעת הכושר, potential fitness, its slaughter remains effective in preventing it from having the ritual impurity of a nevela, of a carcass. So the Tana hold that that's not sufficient. The Mishnah rejects the distinction, and they said, "Tol lecha ma she'eveta." Take back to yourself this claim that you brought, because you still can challenge and ask, "Harei shenoldat treifa min habeten minai." What about a case where an animal that was born as a treifa from the womb, so it's never had a period of potential fitness, never have shata kosher, So for such a case, from where it's derived that its slaughter make it ritually pure. So the Mishnah said lo. So now the Mishnah in a way reformulates the distinction and said no. אם אמרת בבהמת טמאה שכן אין במינה שחיטה, תאמר בטרפה שיש במינה שחיטה. If you said that slaughtering cannot prevent an animal from having the ritual impurity of a carcass, in a case of a non-kosher animal, which is distinct in that it did not have a period of potential fitness when slaughtering it, תאמר תאמר בטרפה שיש במינה לשחיטה. So you should say that also with regard to treifa animal, giving that there are other animals of its kind that are permitted through slaughtering, which is kosher animal that is not treifa. So since the concept of slaughtering is relevant to that kind of animal, it can serve to prevent the animal from having the ritual impurity of an avela, even if the slaughter cannot render it permitted for consumption. But the Tana comments that is some type of pure animal that this rule not apply to that. They said ben shmona chai. They said an 8-month-old fetus that was born alive. En shchitato metaharto. Slaughter does not render that ritually pure, as there are no animal of its kind that are permitted through slaughtering. Lefi she'en bemino shchita. We have here the concept that our Torah applies the concept of slaughter only with regards to animals that were born full term. And later we expand on that on page 74, Gemara, Tosfot, and more. So what we see in the Mishnah, the machloket, disputation between Rabbi Meir and the sages, when the person slaughtered the mother animal and then he took the limb from the fetus, if the rest of the meat is ritually impure because of maga nevela or maga treifa shchuta. So amai, the Mishnah states that according to Rabbi Meir, if a foreleg of a fetus emerges from the womb and it's severed after the slaughter of the mother, it is regarded as a carcass with the association of ritual impurity, and moreover, the rest of the fetus from which it was cut is thereby rendered ritually impure through its contact with the foreleg. So the Gemara asks, why should the rest of the fetus be impure? Tum'at beit hastarim hi. This case is a case of impurity imparted within a concealed area, as the point of contact between the foreleg and the fetus exited when they were still naturally connected to each other. So only when it's together. By the way, I mentioned yesterday the issue of Melkachaim. That's part of that issue, is the tshuva from Moshe Weisblum that's all. If that can carry tumat ben astarim. But anyway, so tumat ben astarim lo mitamya. And the halacha is that an impure item within the concealed area does not impart impurity. So if the two items were in contact in concealed area and not in external surface, impurity cannot be imparted from one item to the other. Leima Rab Meir letamei. Shall we say that Rabbi Meir conforms to his standard line of reasoning with this regard, as he holds that an impure item within a concealed area does impart impurity. Ditnan, shlosha al shlosha shenechlak tahor min hamidras. We learn the Mishnah in Tractate Chullin, chapter 27, that speak about ritual impurity imparted by treating. So if a person who is ritually impure due to having experienced a bodily emission, such as a man who experiences a ziva, that discharge, sits or leans upon an item was designated for that purpose, the item is rendered ritually impure to the ritual impurity imparted by treating. The item will then impart impurity to people or utensils that come in contact with it. In the case of a garment that is impure with ritual impurity imparted by treating, that was 3 by 3 handbreadth in his side, which is the minimum size in part of impurity, that was split into small pieces. Each part is ritually pure with regard to ritual impurity imparted by treating. דתנן 3 על 3 שנחלק טהור מן המדרס. So it's no longer impart impurity to people and utensils that come in contact with it. However, אבל טמא מגע מדרס, דברי רבי מאיר. But each piece will still have ritual impurity of having been in contact with an item that imparts ritually impurity imparted by treating. So before the garment was spilled, you have the garment and it's split, right? So when it's still imparted ritual impurity imparted by treating, each piece of the garment was in contact with another part of it. And through that connection, each piece was rendered ritually impure with the impurity of having been in contact with ritual impurity imparted by treating. But then when the garment was subsequently split, although the pieces were no longer able to impart ritual impurity imparted by treating, they retained the ritual impurity they acquired through their contact with each other pieces before the garment was split. So that's basically the statement of Rabbi Meir. So in that case, the contact between the pieces occurred with the concealed area, as the connection between part of the same item has the status of connection within a concealed area. So evidently Rabbi Meir holds that impurity can be imparted within a concealed area. Vetanya, some said detanya, some even erased the word divrei Rabbi Meir. Anyway, אמר רבי יוסי וכי באיזה מדרס נגע זה. So Rabbi Yossi disagree with Rabbi Meir. He says, but what source of impurity imparted by treating these pieces touch? So Rabbi Yossi disregards the contact between the pieces that occurred before the garment was split, as that contact has the status of a connection within a concealed area. Rather, אלא שאם נגע בו זב, שיהיה טמא מגע זב. Rather, the only way the pieces could still ritually impure is a circumstance if a zav had touched the garment directly, which is he sat on the garment, he also touched it within his skin. So the garment in that situation will have also been rendered ritually impure due to the contact with zav, and that impurity will remain even after the garment was split. So it will appear then that the opinion of Rabbi Meir in the Mishnah here can be reconciled only with the opinion of Rabbi Meir in the Mishnah in Kelim, but not with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. So the Gemara responds and said, Lav itmar Allah amar ula lo shanu ela 3 על 3 שנחלק, אבל 3. So said, wasn't that the Mishnah in Kelim that Ula said they told that Rabbi Yossi disagree with Rabbi Meir only in a case of a garment of 3 by 3 handbreadth that was split into smaller pieces, because it's split, there is no piece large enough to impart to the other pieces impurity imparted through treating. However, אבל 3 על 3 הבאות מבגד גדול בשעת פרישתן מאביהן מקבלות טומאה מאביהם, הנם בשעת פרישתן מעבר מקבל טומאה מעבר. So when you have those pieces of 3 by 3 finger breadth that are cut from a large garment, so here everyone agrees that at the time of their separation from the original garment, before they are fully detached from it, they are rendered impure through their contact with the original garment, despite the fact that the contact occurred within a concealed area. So in this case of the Mishnah here also, one can say that at the time of separation of the flesh of the fetus from the limbs, which is the foreleg, it is renders impure through the contact with the limb. So according to the Ula, then the Mishnah can be reconciled also with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Ravina said that there is a different explanation of how the Mishnah can be reconciled with the view of Rabbi Yossi. Ravina amar beged lav lachaticha kai, ubar lachaticha kai. Said the garment does not stand, which is not intended to be cut. On the contrary, it's better for it to remain whole. So consequently, the connections between its pieces are regarded as being within a concealed area that cannot impart impurity. By contrast, with regard to a fetus, ubar lachaticha kai, fetus that extends its foreleg, so the foreleg does not stand to be cut, as it's prohibited for consumption while the rest of the fetus is permitted. V'chol ha'omed lachtoch, and we have this important halacha, this halachic principle, that any item that stands to be cut, anything that omed lehechatech, that's about to be cut. 73, kechatuch damei. So you take it regarded as a cut. So therefore it's regarded as though the foreleg had already been severed from the body of the fetus, and at the point of contact between them is not considered to be a concealed area. Rather, it is regarded as the foreleg of fetus were two separate items that came into contact with each other. So consequently, the former can impart impurity to the later. Keman ki Rabbi Meir, ditnan. So we follow the halachic principle of Ravina, follow the view of Rabbi Meir. This is a Mishnah in Tractate Mikvaot, chapter 10, Mishnah 5. כל ידות הכלים שהן ארוכות ועתיד לקצצן, מטביל עד מקום מידה דברי רבי מאיר, והחכמים אומרים עד שיטביל את כולו. So, when it's come to a vessel, is immersed in a mikveh, in ritual bath, it is purified only if all parts of the vessel are submerged at the same time. But with regard to any handles of vessels that are too long and therefore will ultimately be cut off, one must immerse them only until the point of their eventual side, even though the part of the handle that will be cut off is not submerged, the vessel is nevertheless purified. That's the statement of Rabbi Meir. So, as you see, clearly that Meir hold that even though the handle is still physically attached, since that part of the handle stands to be cut off, it's already regarded as though it were cut off. So consequently, immersing the handle up until that point is regarded as immersing the entire vessel. והחכמים אומרים, עד שיטביל את כולו. So אפילו תימא רבנן, חיבורי אוכלין כמד דמפרטי דמי. ונגיע בעדד בישלמה לעולה היינו דקן תענה חתכה אלא לרבינה מי חתכה. In our response, I did the tana reisha chatacha, tana name seifa chatacha. So I know that today it's a little long, just want to conclude with a response of Shalot Utshuvot Shar Ephraim, Siman Aleph. He asked a question about cake. Someone cake for Shabbat, and part of the cake will burn. Someone was not focusing. So they asked him about lechem mishneh, about double portion of bread that we use for Shabbat. Is that considering lechem shalem or not? So he brings the Masechet Yom, Perek Kama Mishnah Gimel, in Dalet. We have a differentiation, I don't know how to translate it, but it's between chiruch and chiruch pachot me'etzba, chiruch yoter me'etzba, and pachot me'etzba, it's chibur. So therefore it's called lechem shalem, versus if it's yoter me'etzba, more than a finger size. But he brings our Gemara here in Chulin 73. He said here, that's the last part, we said chatuchei, what we said here, chatuchei chaburi ochlin keman demifretei dame ungie ba'adade. So he said, כל העומד לחתוך כחתוך דם עניין אוכלין, ממילא, you can't call it lechem shalem because it's יותר מאצבע. But the Shar Ephraim expand on that in a sense of halacha, and you see more on that in the Mishnah in Tvul Yom and Siman Kuf Samech Zayin. Obviously it's way more to discuss, but it's a long teshuva, Shar Ephraim Siman Aleph, based on our Gemara, and also a book called Menorah Torah or Chaim, Siman Reish Ain Dalet, Seif Katan Aleph, we expand on this Shar Ephraim.